Hello and welcome to another episode of Tiva Drive, and this time around we're doing a comparison between two different electric cars. On my left is 2024 Acura ZDX and on my right is the Lexus RZ450e. This is the ZDX S-Type, which means it's the top of the line high performance model. We will do a side-by-side comparison. We'll show you the interior space and the trunk space, etc. Now, why are we comparing those two? Because the price range is quite a bit different. This one here on the Lexus is priced between $65,000 and $85,000, while the Acura is priced between $87,000 and $94,000. This is a compact SUV, while the Acura is actually a mid-size SUV. This one here has a 300 horsepower all-wheel drive, where this one here has a 500 horsepower all-wheel drive. The battery here is 71 gross, 64 net. Here it's 102 usable. So it's a much bigger battery, much more powerful car, but both of these are these Japanese firms' first introduction to full electric SUV. That being said, let's start with the Acura ZDX. We'll jump inside, show you the interior space. Both of these cars don't offer front trunks or frunks, as we call them. In either case, it's just simply not offered, so there's no point in popping the front trunk because there's nothing in there. And so let's show you the interior space in this one here. So basically, obviously this is a larger car, and it has a luxury appointed interiors, while the other one we got is a base car. So this is a top of the line, the other one is a base car. And here we have the opening sunroof, panoramic sunroof. We'll show you later on when we take you for a spin. It's just to show you the interior space. So I'm sitting in a very comfortable position in the front, and then we'll jump in the back to show you what the space looks in the rear. Okay, so here is the rear space. Lots of room, space for my feet under the seat, and lots of leg room and lots of headroom as well. So this car here is I'm 6'3", so 190 centimeters, and I have plenty of room for my legs and for my head in the back. Let us show you the Lexus. Of course, this one here, you will notice it's Bang & Olufsen system. Again, top of the line, 94,000 as presented versus 64,000 on the other car. There is other luxury appointments such as the blinds or window shades for the rear doors. Okay, let's show you the trunk space side-by-side comparison. Let's leave the doors open so that no one parks here while we're shooting. Okay. By the way, this car, so you have a TypeS here, ZDX. The car is equipped with a foot swipe, so you could open the trunk with a foot swipe. When you look at them side by side, you'll notice that the ZDX is actually lower. So this is a cousin to Cadillac Lyriq 600e4. It's just badge engineering, where the Acura slapped Acura badge, and they slightly redesigned the front and back, but it's basically Cadillac Lyriq 600e4 top of line version, or you can also call it the Chevy Blazer SS top version. So here is a Type S on the floor mat in the back, and here is the storage space in the back. Not very big, but just enough for there's actually more space further down and charging cables and such. So quite a little bit of space under the floor of the Acura ZDX. What we didn't show you is also the charge port in front. Let's go back for a second to the charge port. So as you may remember, in the Cadillac Lyriq, you have the electric charge port door. Here it's just a manual door. And you have, of course, the J1772, and you have the CCS charge port. and it's just a manual door with a TypeS on it. Oh, there you go, it's closed. Okay, so let's open the trunk in the Lexus to try and compare the sizes. So obviously, because it's a smaller SUV, you can actually kind of, when you look at them, you can see that the Lexus is slightly taller than the Acura. Okay, so because this is a base Lexus RZ450e, here you have the model name, RZ450e, Direct 4, telling you that it's an all-wheel drive version of the car. It's plated in Quebec, and here we have to mention that this is the first time we're actually driving a car that's not even sold in Ontario. This Lexus RZ, for now, it's only sold in Quebec and BC. And this happens to be a base version. Usually the press cars are top of the line. This one here, we got like a really base version, so no sunroof, base wheels, etc., etc. Okay, and also the gate, the lift gate is manual. Imagine that. 64 grand, you would expect that, especially in a Lexus, that you would have a power lift gate and maybe a power sunroof. We thought maybe that the reason for this is so that it fits within the federal rebate program, but it does not. Even at 64 grand, it does not qualify for the federal rebate so far. So here's the trunk, obviously smaller than the ZDX, and under the floor you have the storage compartment. It's quite a bit deeper than the Acuras, and there's no more, there's a little bit further down, but it seems to be deeper than the Acura trunk, storage space under the floor. Okay, so let us jump into the Lexus now. Let us start by showing you the charge port here. You have to press here to open it, manual charge port door, and you have J1772 and a CCS plug with a cover as well. Let's jump into the interior and show you the interior. So again, keep in mind this is the base version. How can you tell? You can tell by the fact that there is no panoramic sunroof, and these are base 18-inch wheels. There is an advantage to 18-inch wheels versus the upgraded 20s. Of course, the range is a difference. The range for this car is on the 18-inch wheels is 350 kilometers range versus 315 on the 20-inch rim. So 350 maximum rated range versus 500 on the other car. We'll tell you later on about our test results in terms of what we were actually able to drive at and also what consumption we got. So here's the space. Now, another interesting thing about the Lexus RZ, you may have seen our video from an auto show when we sat inside the Lexus RZ pre-production version, where the steering wheel was a yoke. So it was a square wheel, which was continuously variable steering, which was adjustable steering. And then you were looking at the dashboard above the steering wheel, kind of like the Toyota Prius we just drove and the BZ4X we drove before. Here in this one, you have a regular wheel and you're looking at the dashboard through the steering wheel. And that's, I guess, people will have the preference for that. Apparently, you can order the yoke with the higher dashboard. But right now, this base model comes standard with the regular dashboard, big screen here. Okay, so I'm in a comfortable position. Let's jump in the back and compare the space in the rear. Okay, so here I am in the back. The foot space is not bad. You know what? Even the leg space, it's very comparable to the Acura ZDX. It should be less technically, but it's very comparable. I'm not touching the seat in front of me. There's very decent space in the back here. And so basically here, plenty of headroom as well. So again, for someone like me, 6'3" or 190 centimeters, pretty decent space in both cars. Where you can see the difference is the trunk seems to be a little bit smaller, but interior space, actually quite comparable. Okay, so that's about it for the comparison of interiors of both cars. We're gonna take you for a quick spin in the in the Acura ZDX, which we have to return today. And then because we don't want this video to be too long, we're gonna do a part 1 of this comparison with the driving section of the Acura. And then next week, a week later, we'll publish the driving impressions of the Lexus RZ. So that's about it for the walk around. And now we'll take you on a spin with the Acura. Okay, so we are inside a 2024 Acura ZDX S-Type. This is a top of the line version. So you have the A spec and then you have the S-Type. Only 2 versions are available with the Acura. We mentioned previously that this is basically a clone made on the same factory floor as the Cadillac Lyriq, which the version that would be equivalent to this is called the 600E4. 600 stands for the torque number, and the E4 4-wheel drive. So this is all-wheel drive as well. Again, 500 horsepower, 102 kilowatt-hour usable battery. The only difference between the S-Type and the A-Spec, they're both 500 horsepower, but the S-Type, the higher performance, has more torque and so quicker acceleration. This car can do 4.5 seconds from 0 to 100. Actually, it's quicker by a fraction of a second. It's quicker than the Cadillac Lyriq. So obviously, the Cadillac is likely heavier. The height is the same. Some of the reviewers call them more wagons than SUVs because it's lower than typically a typical mid-size SUV. So well, just still call it a mid-size SUV. But if you prefer to call it a crossover or a tall wagon, it's up to you. So in terms of the interior is different than the GM products because, as you remember, the GM products have the one big screen, of course, divided into the 2 separate sections. Here you have actually 2 distinct separate screens. The center screen is here, and by the way, it tends to overheat. This kind of a design where the screen is just like a little tablet sitting all by itself, when the car is sitting in the sun, tends to overheat, and then the screen freezes. When we picked up the car from Honda and head office, it was sitting in the sun and the screen was completely frozen. We kind of knew what the issue was, so when we used the air conditioning on the road and then we parked the car in the shade, turned it off, turned it back on, the screen was working fine. So it was only after the car was sitting in the sun for a while. You can change the display here. Right now we're showing the speedo, percentage of the battery. By the way, it's at almost 100%, showing 509 kilometers. At most, it showed about 531 kilometers in normal mode. The mode button, by the way, is down here. We'll show you in a moment. It's not in a very convenient spot because you have to look for it. In my case, I have to put on my glasses to see where the car might be located. So it's not the best kind of arrangement for a mode button to be. Normally, the mode button should be somewhere here, easily available, maybe here or maybe there in the center console. So right now, in terms of the display, we have the this kind of option. The entertainment is on the right, the speedo, the power band, and then you have the battery percentage expressed here. You have your trip information, basically showing the trip 1 and trip 2. You can reset those using the main screen. There's a reset button for those. So basically, to change it, you have the screen option here. So here the next option is full screen of navigation. You have the speedo is on the left, and the power usage, the current power usage is here. And the speed limit is shown there as well, and some of the basic information on auto steer. So this is equipped with Super Cruise, as it should be, because the Acura ZDX A-Spec starts at 87,000, and where the S-Type is 94,000. So it's quite pricey. It's actually 10 grand more than the cheapest Cadillac. Cadillac Lyriq starts at 77,000, so it's actually a bit more expensive than the Cadillac. Is it worth it? We'll tell you in a moment. So that's the second option. Third option you see here is basically you've got the Super Cruise display in the center, and your speedo is still on the left, and the entertainment is still on the right. And then you're back to, this is our favorite display because it has the speedo in the middle, power band, battery percentage, The range, by the way, is here at the bottom left, as you can see, and then you have your trip 1, trip 2. Because this is a top-of-the-line car, it is equipped with air suspension. The way to adjust the air suspension, there's a button here again on the left. Again, not very easily reachable or visible, but you can press it. You have right height is the entry-exit. Right now, as soon as you put it in park, the car lowers itself for the ease of access. So right now it's an entry-exit. We can hike it up to normal. You can feel, I can see the car going up. And then the third option is raised. Boom, we are in increased height. So when you're off-roading, that's the option you're gonna use. But above a certain speed, the car goes back to normal height. So back to the mode button. So here we go. Mode button, you have individual, you have normal, let's go up. You have normal, you have snow, and you have sport. So we're gonna please note that actually there is no efficiency or eco mode at all on this car, and we're gonna talk about that because this car is very energy hungry, and that estimated 500 kilometer range, it's not easy to achieve. So we'll talk about it in a moment. Of course, when you use it in sport, you get the sound effects, and then you can turn them off. So we will let you listen to the sound effects that come with the sport mode. We'll try and launch it within the parameters of the speed limits here. So we'll keep it in sport mode for now. For the purposes of our testing on the highway, we used it in normal mode because there is no eco mode. We try to see how much we can stretch. As you can see here, this is today's driving around the city. So the only way you can actually reach that rated range of 500 kilometers, as you can see here, it's expressed not in kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, but it's expressed in kilometers per kilowatt hour. Because the battery is 102 kilowatt hours usable, it's easy to estimate the range. So when the battery was full earlier today, after the trip to downtown and back from Etobicoke, the total was about 15 kilometers trip using just the city streets. The consumption was about 5 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which translates into 500 and just over 500 kilometers total range in electric. So in terms of our highway tests and side road hypermile tests, we'll tell you that once we start driving. What we do like about this car is the separate climate screen. So you have your seat heating, seat cooling, direction of the air, climate on off, same for the passenger, your auto, max defrost, rear defrost, front defrost, fan speed, it's all in here. And then it's a dual zone, so you can adjust your temperature here on the screen. You have the volume button here on off, 2 cup holders, 2 USB-C plugs. This is not the charge area. The wireless charger is actually right here. And again, concern there is that because it's such a tight spot that the phone may overheat. It did not overheat for us, but this kind of a narrow pocket for charging where the phone stands up, the concern would be about the phone overheating. The car this is a Google-based system, so your navigation is Google Maps. However, the Android Auto is offered, and it's a wireless Android Auto. So basically today we had some sort of a Bluetooth issue. It wouldn't connect to my phone, even though we previously set it up. We've been using it for a week. Today it would not connect to my phone, but you do get wireless Android Auto, and presumably you get wireless Apple CarPlay as well. Where GM is trying to get away from that, they want to force you to use only the Google system, just like Volvo does. And that's the one thing we don't appreciate on the Volvos, electric or otherwise, is that you have to use the Google system. They do not offer Android Auto, which we like. Finally, just a large compartment here with a light. You can store quite a few things there. And also there's a shelf underneath here to store more items. Under the main shelf, the upper shelf, there's a lower shelf as well to store items. The car, as we mentioned, is equipped with a Bang & Olufsen system, so it's an amazing sound. Definitely amazing sound. So you have the Bang & Olufsen logos all over on the tweeters there, and on the speakers there, on the doors as well. Nice red, leather seats with red stitching. Tell you that you're driving the aggressive S-Type Acura. Okay, so that's about it. We won't go through all the options. You will be familiar. They're very similar to the GM, so Cadillac and Chevy options on the screen. This is your main screen. Then you can, of course, when your Android Auto is connected, you have it right there. You can just press go to Android Auto. The Android Auto will take portion of the screen, and the main buttons here still remain, which is kind of nice. And you can still operate these main menu buttons without having to exit from the Android Auto, which is kind of nice. Okay, so that's about it. Let me change my glasses back to sunglasses. The gear shifter, by the way, here is just like in a Chevy. So you pull it towards you and down to put it in drive, and then towards you and up for reverse. Then park is right here. On the steering wheel, before we go, here is the Super Cruise button right there. You can use a regular adaptive cruise, or you can use the Super Cruise, and the buttons are right here, and then you can adjust them with those buttons. Steering heat is here, verbal commands, changing of the entertainment, and then your screen options are here. That's about it. Little Type S logo on your steering wheel. Okay, let's go. Let's take you for a quick spin. We are in sport mode. So we'll see. We should be able to hear some of those sound effects. The fake engine sounds, they are kind of electronic sounds. They're not engine sounds. A lot of companies are trying to imitate the V8 sounds right now, especially Dodge recently and others. But this one here, so you could hopefully hear a little bit of that. So we're gonna try, and when we go into the higher limit there, we'll try and kind of launch it. But again, it's not spectacular. For 500 horsepower, with less horsepower, the Ford Mach-E GT Performance, which we drove, with less horsepower, it actually is able to accelerate quicker. It can do 3.5 seconds with the performance upgrade. This car here is a full second slower to 100, so it's 4.5 seconds. Why is that? The battery is bigger, so it's obviously a heavier car. The Ford Mach-E has a 91 kWh battery. This one here is 102 usable, which means that probably the total size is at least around 110 or so. So much bigger and heavier battery. That makes this car. Also, I think versus the Mach-E, this car is bigger indeed. It feels pretty large on the inside, so that's probably the reason. So 4.5 seconds, it's decent, but it's not spectacular for a car with 500 horsepower. So let's try and see if we can produce that sound for you on just a little section here where there's no other cars. There we go. From 0, let's floor it. Yeah, and so basically, bit of a sound. It's kind of discreet. It's not overwhelming, and like in some of the other cars. And of course, you also have, you can maybe hear it now slightly, some of the pedestrian warning sound that's produced up to 40 kilometers per hour can be heard on the inside. So it's supposed to be piped on the outside, but some of that sound you can also hear from the inside. So that's about it. Now we're gonna try and do a little piece of highway for you to demonstrate a Super Cruise. And this is the first time we're actually driving the GM Super Cruise or a car equipped with it. I'm not sure what Acura and Honda call it. They probably have their own name for it, but it's basically GM Super Cruise that's offered on Cadillac Lyriq, on the Chevy Blazer EV, and many other GM products. And so we found it to be very good. Anything short of Tesla FSD, this is a pretty good system. We rate it above BMW, Mercedes, and Ford hands-free systems. Why? Because we were able to actually use it on the side roads. None of the other systems, except for Tesla FSD, is able to auto steer itself on smaller side roads. Now, with this GM system, it's geo-fenced, so not all the side roads you can activate it on. but you can still use the Super Cruise on more roads, including side roads, than Ford, Mercedes, and BMW systems. Okay, so we'll try and we're getting on the Gardner now. We'll try and activate it by pressing this Super Cruise button here on the left. So, and it has auto lane change as well. So it has to be initiated by touching on the turn stock. So, boom, hands-free, unavailable, no road information. Oh, okay, so it doesn't want to work on, unfortunately, on the Gardner. Let's try again. There we go. There we go. Green light is on. So green light is on. We're on doing the speed limit. And we can maybe increase it slightly above. There you go. There we go. Okay. And change lane. We initiate lane change by touching on the steering, on the turn stock. There you go. Changing lane completed. Did it all by itself. So the way you know that it's active and it's full hands-free is by this green light on top of the steering wheel. The actual monitors of the driver, they're located here, but also in the steering wheel. When we shot the previous video with our phone, you can probably see it here because we're shooting with my phone as well. The two sensors are here right on the steering wheel, watching you to make sure that you're watching the road. So it's kind of a very nice system. So let's turn the lane again, initiate with the turn stock. Boom. It keeps the turn signals flashing until they complete. And then actually there's a message on the dashboard that says that changing of the lanes has been completed. So again, very good system. We're gonna exit here from the Gardner. We'll see when it disengages, it flashes red and your seat vibrates. That's the other thing. With your parking sensors, there is no audible signal. Again, maybe there's something we can change in the settings. There's no audible signal for warnings on the Super Cruise or parking sensors. It just vibrates in your seat. So it's kind of interesting. It's the first time that I see that. Sometimes you would get warnings in the steering wheel, but because it's a hands-free system, it vibrates your seat instead. So we'll see if it will disengage. So before disengaging, it'll flash red and tells you to take over on the dashboard as well. So we'll see how far we can get to it because we're approaching a highway exit. Sometimes when it approaches, especially on side roads, no, we're going this way. There you go, it's flashing blue. There we go. Is it gone? It's gone back to green. So we're in the lane that exits the highway. So we'll see how far it's gonna keep it going. Probably, there we go, take over. Red is flashing and it says hands-free, unavailable. You have to take over. So that's about it. We wanted to show you how it works. We're quite impressed with the GM Super Cruise. It's the first time we're driving it. We're yet to drive the Cadillac Lyric. We did drive Chevy Blazer RS, not the SS, which would be equivalent to this car. And it did not have the Super Cruise on that particular one that we drove recently when we compared it with the Mach-E GT. So consumption-wise, yeah, we have to talk to you about that 500 kilometer rated range. What is the result of our test on the highway using climate? And it's obviously, we're still in the summer. We're in September, but it's a summer weather, up to 32 degrees plus humidity. On the highway with the climate on, we got a consumption of just around 4 kilometers per kilowatt hour. So obviously that translates into just around 400 kilometer highway range. Then what we did is, of course, our usual hypermile using side roads without climate, and we only got slightly better result of 4.5 kilometers per 4.5 kilometers. Sorry, I'm used to the other system of kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, so I'm having tough time converting and speaking in different terms. So yes, the 4.5, which would translate to only 450, and that's hypermiling below 100 kilometers without the climate. So the only way, according to our test, that you can reach anywhere close to the 500 kilometer range is by driving in the city. Today, as I mentioned to you, we did get the figure of 5 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which will give you the 500, but that's driving city speeds 40 to 50 kilometers an hour, and that was without climate again. So don't count on that 500 kilometers range on the highway, and we'll see how that compares to the much smaller battery on the Lexus RZ that we're comparing it with. It will be interesting to see how it compares with its cousins Blazer SS and Cadillac Lyriq 600e4 because the shape of the car is slightly different. But anyways, don't count on that 500. The 500 only achievable in the city, 450 on side roads, 400 on the highway, which is not bad, but it is quite a large battery of 102 kilowatt hours usable. So that's about it for our impressions of the Acura ZDX. Next, we're gonna jump into the Lexus RZ450e and to give you our impressions of that one. But we will, as we said, in order to keep this video short enough, not too long, we're gonna do that in a separate video. In part 2 of this comparison, we're gonna post a separate video of our impressions of the Lexus RZ450e. As usual, if you have any questions regarding these cars or any items in this test, feel free to comment. We'll try to respond as quickly as we can to your questions. As usual, do not forget to press the subscribe button on our channel to be informed when the next review will be posted, and we have lots more reviews of full electric and plug-in hybrid cars coming to our channel. And again, finally, we have to thank Condos and Castles Realty Inc. of being our sponsor for our channel. You can find them at www.condosandcastles.com. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next review.